No.
What do you mean, no?
You should have come to me first. I don't approve of this.
But I'm almost done. All I have left to shoot is the finale.
Aaron, it's not a matter of practicality. It's a matter of ethics.
What?
Friends don't let friends do amateur stop motion for the internet.
Since when are you an ethical person?
Aaron, I'm a saint.
Regardless, I won't let you stop me.
Then I'm gonna make you.
Not if you can't catch me.
I can just walk over this.
Barefoot.
I have shoes on, you f***ing rooster.
Think again.
Why are you still laughing? You lost. It's over.
You fool. The finale's only just begun, and you've got a front row seat.
What am I looking at?
I said you've got a front row seat.
Crab dirty lobster.
That's not your line.
I thought I'd try something new. Ad lib.
You can't go through with this.
You know, now that I'm seeing it,
Yeah.
I just wanted to be like everybody else.
What does that even mean?
I just wanted to make a Lego movie too.
Welcome to Stubtown. I'm one of your hosts, Brad Weber. As always, I'm joined by a man who can only be described as red and upsetting.
My name's Aaron Clausen.
Today we're taking a look at the Lego Movie 2, the second part.
The second part of the Lego movie too?
No, stop bidding with me. We're in a review now. So, what did you think, Aaron, right off the bat? What did you think of it?
I think it is the second best Lego movie out of the four. I think the first one's still like vastly superior than this one, but this one was like funny, but
I think there's like a weird counting Lego Batman and Lego Ninjago as part of the series.
yeah.
I don't know, that seems strange to me.
Yeah.
Especially Lego Ninjago, I don't know if I'd even consider that in the...
I mean, we'll talk about, I'll talk about that in the spoiler section.
Okay, well, I thought it was okay. I thought it was fine.
It had some jokes that I like genuinely laughed out loud at, but a lot of it was just like, this is mildly amusing. I'm glad I'm seeing this.
Yeah, it felt nice, like especially coming out of like bad January and like Oscar season, right? To just watch a movie that was totally like just pleasant. Like that's probably the best word to describe this thing is it's just a pleasant, good time.
Yeah, I mean the film's all about like having to deal with growing up, like what it's like growing up with a sibling and like having to play with them. That's really just the whole plot of the film.
Yeah.
And it was just nice and pleasant and like just that little bit relatable. And
It was really great also like seeing the animation in the thing, you know? 'Cause
yeah,
I feel like, when did Lego Movie come out? The first,
2014.
2014. What did it lose to in the Oscars?
it didn't get nominated for the Oscar.
Oh no.
Because it had, at the end of the first Lego movie, spoiler, there's a little live action section, and that's what kept it from not being able to be nominated.
Well, this one definitely won't get nominated. Anyways, but I think that's upsetting because, like, again, like we talked about this in Spider-Man, right? Like, just like having really innovative and fun art styles to look at.
Big Hero 6, that's what won that year.
Yikes. So, you know, it's really fun just seeing, like, this animation style again. I really like it, like this pseudo stop motion sort of.
Yeah. It's just I don't want to spoil anything. In the movie, the animation is very Lego-like.
Yeah.
It does have that weird. Yeah, I think you're right. It does have that weird, like, almost Spider-Verse-y type. I forgot. I'm gonna bring it back and never review it. Like Spider-Verse-y style of like that's like stop motion little look inside a fully 3D rendered film.
Yeah, and like they also are able to apply like some 2D stuff like they did in Spider-Man, which was 3D models. But
Yeah.
like, I think it's more like audacious here. I mean, I guess this is the sequel, so like some of this stuff is just holdover from the first
Yeah.
movie's style. But I really love seeing them put like motion lines or blur or something like
Mhm.
made out of Lego. That's really fun to look at.
I mean, it definitely just feels like another thing written by Phil Lord and Chris Miller.
Yeah, like welcome back to our series on movies written by Lord and Miller, but they didn't direct. But like this is definitely their thing also, and I think the art style like lends to their writing style. Like out of all the animated stuff they've done, I think the Lego movie art style lends itself to their writing the best.
Yeah, I can definitely see that with their humor and their choice of putting in Channing Tatum all the time
Yeah,
and
and
Jonah Hill.
like just every shot serves a joke. Like especially the first half of this movie, it is
Oh, yeah.
a joke a second, and every shot serves a joke, and it can be anything because it's Lego, also because it's animated. But
Yeah.
like, I think it's like,
Or even a reference. Like it's a lot of references.
yeah, that I guess that could be a problem, right?
Yeah.
A lot of the jokes like crux on, hey, Batman like has a weird shirt on, right? Or
Yeah.
something like that. So
Yeah, a lot of the references too, like they're done in a way where it's like funny for the people that get them.
right.
Like those reference jokes are definitely not for the kids. Not that they're like innuendos or anything, but they're just like references to movies that children watching it probably have never seen.
Yeah, and I feel like it might undercut some of the funniness of some jokes. Like, it's funny having the Justice League show up in this movie.
Yeah.
But then it's not funny when you go like, well, there's 17 movies coming out about the Justice League or whatever, right?
Yeah. There's a lot of jokes that I want to talk about that I don't want to spoil, but yeah, there's like a lot of cameos in the film too that work towards that whole it's just another reference type thing.
Mm-hmm.
So I think this one had a less start to finish well-arced story than the
Yeah.
first one. This one was like had just about the same amount of jokes
Mhm.
and like the same kind of humor and references, but the lack of like, especially the third act, it really just breaks apart in the third act for sure.
I think that's might just be a product of being a sequel to the Lego movie, which was so smart and so inventive and so
Mhm.
fresh when it came out that like seeing it again is like, oh, okay. And I think they actually do a lot of really smart stuff with that.
Mhm.
In like, hey, we know you know the twist of the first movie now. Like they just totally go all out with it, and I think
Yeah.
that's really great.
Yeah, I mean it's hard for like what's disappointing though is like the first two acts were just really good, and they were like it was the whole. Yeah, we realize this is a sequel to the Lego movie. We're gonna like dive deep into all the stuff that we did in the first one, and then the third one they just like it was like just a whole nother act, and they kind of got there and they're like, well, what do we do for the twist this time?
Yeah, the movie does have a definite end point, I think, that it reaches and then just keeps going for another 20 minutes.
Oh yeah, yeah. The twist at the end could have just been cut out completely. It like wasn't needed. It didn't really add anything to the characters' arcs at all because it feels like they kind of just already found those arcs.
Yeah.
And then they were like, little bonus
Yeah.
mode.
I guess before we go into spoilers, we could talk about the soundtrack.
Oh yeah, okay. They use some songs that like aren't original, like most children's animated films do,
Yeah.
and they're not used very well. The trailer had the trailer for the film when it came out had like Intergalactic by the Beastie Boys. So I was like, oh, I wonder how they're gonna integrate that into the movie. And then they didn't. They don't have that song in the movie. And I was kind of disappointed, to be honest. That has nothing to do with the movie itself, though, or the songs in the movie. But there were original songs written, which were kind of just rehashed a little bit, too. Some of them.
Yeah.
Like, they have Everything's Not Awesome is one of the songs. And it's kind of just a depressing ballad that's a slowed down version of Everything is Awesome with like 4 words changed.
And I think they also do the thing that like all kids movies do now where you have to have musical numbers.
Yep.
Like not in like a Disney way, but like in a Trolls kind of way where like they just sing a pop song.
I could be wrong, but I'm almost 100% positive the director of this movie directed Trolls.
Can we get fact check?
I think, what's his name? Mike Mitchell. I think he did.
It is Mike Mitchell.
I think he did Trolls and Shrek Forever After before doing this movie.
Oh, so you're wrong.
Yes. What did Mike Mitchell do?
Deuce Bigelow, Mel Gigolo.
Oh! Okay.
Oh, okay. So I was right.
Yeah. So yeah, it is just, this feels more, I guess, like a kid's animated movie than the Lego movie did.
Like it's more DreamWorks animation than Warner Brothers animation?
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah. If that even makes sense to
Yeah,
really
whatever,
watch
but
But they give like Tiffany Haddish, right, plays Queen whatever
a wannabe.
Wannabe. She's got 2 different musical numbers.
She does, very close together.
Like I think within like 15 minutes of each other.
Mm-hmm.
And one
It's fine.
is fine. Which one are you saying is fine?
I think the first one's fine.
I think so I think the first one is fine. It's totally the kids thing, but they reference the fact that within that song they reference the fact that it is a song in a children's movie, and like Elizabeth Banks plays Wild Style Lucy, and she's just like,
I feel like that like dips a little bit too into like bad children's writing though, where you get like a joke or something happening and then like a dude just goes like, did anyone else just see that? Like,
yeah,
I don't know. Like,
it's like really on the nose meta humor is
Mhm.
not funny meta humor.
Yeah.
Then the second song, which is like about,
Hey, we're gonna go into spoilers now. I
Yeah.
think that's probably just the best way to do this.
yeah, we'll do spoilers now.
Spoilers.
So the second song is fully about, like, Queen whatever wannabe is like trying to seduce Batman
Yeah.
by making him jealous by saying she's in love with Superman, which you've brought up like before in a conversation before this review that you kind of thought it was going to go into the arc was going to go into the Queen whatever wannabe was going to be the villain, and the whole point of it was just she was trying to like seduce Superman.
I thought that was really funny.
And that would have been a better ending than the actual ending of the film, which turns out Queen whatever wannabe is not the villain at
Yeah.
all.
And she sings that whole first song about
Yeah, the
not-
first song is not being a villain.
Yeah, she's like, I'm not a bad guy, and like it's totally framed in a way that's like, oh, she is.
Yeah, and then they just flip it up, and it's Rex Dangerforce is the bad guy.
Danger Vest.
Danger Vest?
Danger Vest.
Danger Vest is the
Wrong
bad guy.
again. Yeah, I thought that the music was fine. Otherwise, the credits song had a really great. The Lonely Island did that song for the credits, which was fantastic.
You're right. Where they just kind of talked about who's actually in the credits.
Yeah.
Like I think there was the one like line was like, oh my gosh, I can't believe Sound Mixer, whatever his name is in this film.
Yeah, it's fantastic.
Even though nobody knows who the Sound Mixer is.
Someone knows.
Well, yeah, I'm sure the Sound Mixer knows. Before we go into like deep into spoilers.
We're in spoilers.
Before we get like too deep into spoilers, do we want to like dive deep into the psychology of the film?
Sure, I guess we can. We can bring a specialist in.
So this is our Lego Psychologist.
Brick Buildington, hi. That's my actual name. It's on the certificate. Let me have this as a crutch. I think...
Oh, yeah. So, Brick, what did you think?
Well,
This is our show, Brick.
I, for one, think the Lego Movie was a brilliant existential movie. It was all about crisis. And that's not too new for a movie. But for a children's movie, they don't deal with that. Kids aren't expected to have existential crises. They're supposed to be teenager to adult, all fine. But if you convey a movie to children, the message is for children too. So they were able to talk about a very important existential crisis to kids without making it depressing or strange or scary. And the crisis it's based on the first one and the kids, spoiler.
We're in spoilers.
Oh yeah, good. So the Legos are being played with by outside forces, which are just humans playing with their toys. The Legos aren't aware of that. It's not like Toy Story where they switch back and forth. They think their life is real, and they have no concept of what's above. So in the second movie, the kid growing up, and all the Legos, they're not psychologically deterministic. Everything's determined from them for the universe. So everything they are is based on what the kids breathe life into them as. So when the kid deals with going into adolescence and his sister takes over the Legos deal with the reflection of the consciousness of an adolescent onto the reflection of the consciousness of a child and the conflict between those. Now, there's logic to both. This is what the message is. There's logic to both consciousnesses. Children have their own logic. Adolescents have their own logic, but it doesn't work from an outside point. And they figure out that doesn't work because the Legos try to do both consciousnesses to the full end. And he wills himself to do that. So he goes from the universal determinism of the Lego world that they're in, where they don't have free will, to creating... That's what I think on Brick Buildington.
No, I think Brick made a good point, and that's like heavily alluded to in the film, especially in, the scene where they are Undar the Dryar system.
I find the implications of this thing to be so strange. I've been waiting to get here.
And when he's Undar the Dryar system, he even makes a joke that's like the Matrix. It's the Matrix. Like they're in that created world by these human kids, and then he's finally gained sentient ability and can move around in the real world, as in like the Matrix. But
They don't pull that in the first movie, do they really?
I mean, they sort of in the first movie. Spoilers for the first movie. Like Emmett's on the table when Will Ferrell's trying to get the glue off. Also, Will Ferrell's in this movie, but he's not in this movie.
Yeah, he's in it for a shot.
Yeah, he gets the what is it? The part Emmett kind of bounces on the table and then falls off, and that's it. That's all they allude to in that.
Because this goes almost full Toy Story in the thing, where they're literally moving outside of...
Oh yeah, Rex has, in the 5 years Rex was under the Dryar system, under the dryer, he was able to fully stand up and climb things and change his outfit, because he is Emmett from the future.
Yeah, and I find that very strange, because we're led to believe that these Legos are the plaything of the children, right? When we're seeing them play, it becomes... Look, I'm very fascinated by Lego lore, all right?
But what's confusing is that, Rex is
They do write it out, right?
Rex fully gains consciousness, moves around in the real world, but then he's I have to travel back in time. But the traveling back in time is something that's decided by the kid playing.
Right.
So do they actually move around on their own?
And do they time travel? How does time travel work in this thing? Do you know what I mean? He's I'm just going to time travel.
Well, they even say
Did they get a second Emmett? Because he fell under the dryer as Emmett.
Yeah, and so they bought a second toy that was just Emmett to replace him.
I mean, they do have a line where Rex is this is just the depth of a children's imagination.
Yeah, in a young adolescent.
Don't think about it. But I do think about it.
And then there's even the thing where he's Emmett's talking to Rex. He's yeah, that time travel stuff doesn't make any sense. And he was that doesn't matter. But I think it does. Because whether or not that they actually have the ability to do that is kind of whether or not they're actually sentient things or just the kids have always been playing with them. They've constructed this whole weird narrative. The little boy is just yeah, he is under the dryer. I'm gonna leave him under there for 5 years, and then pick him back up, and he's gonna be the villain. Like,
I always felt like this like live action stuff, like in 2, like I don't like it. Like I did not like it when they kept cutting back to like the sister and the brother.
yeah, I liked it in the first movie because it just happened.
Yeah, because
out of nowhere.
And it was, I mean, first of all, because Will Ferrell's in it.
Yeah.
And then second of all, because like it's a small part of that thing, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like this, we spend like the last third act, especially like just cutting. Essentially, the 2 running storylines, the A plot and the B plot, is the brother and sister, and then the Legos.
Yep.
So it's, I don't like it.
I didn't really like any of the humor in the live action world too. Like
Right.
Raya Rudolph plays the mom, and she's fine. She's got some good bits, but then they like do this weird bit where she like steps on a Lego like 4 times
Yeah, and she's
and
like,
makes
"Ah."
like the same joke, and I'm like, what? Did we need that? Was that necessary?
That's a question I think you need to ask about this movie. Not that I don't like it, but like,
Was it
Was it
necessary?
necessary? I feel like the Lego movie, the first one, was a complete work. Like, I like the jokes in this movie a lot. Like the second movie, I like the jokes a lot, especially in like the first act, kind of when they're coming like every millisecond, like you're getting a new joke when they're like messing around in the post-apocalypse world and stuff like that. And even when he goes to space, like there's really funny stuff there. But it becomes like, do you really have too much more to say?
Yeah.
It becomes the same sort of story, like, oh, this family needs to learn to work together, and they're putting their grief and their troubles into these Legos, right?
So I thought like the very beginning of this movie starts like almost immediately where it left off in the first one, and then they just time jump 5 years later after like a couple minutes of explaining that the Justice League went off to go destroy like the Duplo blocks that show up in the first film, and then the Justice League never comes back. They also like, I don't know what point I was gonna make there at all. I just lost my whole train of thought.
Great.
Oh, okay. Duh. No, I got where I'm back. So I thought they were gonna do this Incredibles 2 thing.
Okay, where they do the same movie again,
where
but
they-
worse?
Now who hates everything? So I thought they were gonna do this thing where it like starts right where it left off, and then they're just gonna do it like the whole time,
Do what?
like the same movie.
Okay.
Like just do the like, they were just gonna start from the Duplo blocks, and then they were gonna say that like the Duplo blocks were the bad guys, and then have that like a whole nother movie just about them in Bricksburg, I think is the name.
Fighting some aliens.
Fighting some aliens, and that was going to be the whole thing. But then they only do that for like 4 minutes, and then do the time skip to the whole Mad Max Wasteland, thing, which had some fun jokes in it. But then they only do the Mad Max Wasteland thing for like
I mean, this guy directed the second SpongeBob movie, right?
Like
Which also
10 minutes.
does the Mad Max thing
yeah.
for the first 10 minutes of that movie.
But so you know what it is like
What is
there's just little sets, like built sets that they play in for a little bit, for like just a couple minutes, and then they go to the next set, and then they go to the next set, but never ever go back to the previous sets. And that's all this movie is they're just like, let's just make some jokes in this location and somehow further the plot to get to this location. Then let's make some jokes on this set. They're in space. Now we're gonna go here. They're in the Sistar system. Make some jokes there. And then the last one is actually not a set, it's real life, and let's make some jokes in real life. I don't think there's ever like, I don't think they like wrote this story and then found stuff to put in. It felt like they kind of just made the story to weave through these like cool set pieces.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and that's how it feels, you know, just like a lot of excuses for jokes, which is fine. I think this movie's fine.
It felt like, to me, like Ant-Man 2 to the Ant-Man 1, where it was just like way none of a story, but like a lot more jokes.
I feel like that's a little harsh. Like, I would definitely much rather watch Lego Movie 2 than Ant-Man 2, but...
I mean, same. I just like, from like, as far as like quality to quality.
Yeah. It's a fine film, I think. It's a fine children's film, whereas I think the Lego Movie is almost a masterpiece of like animated feature. Like it's so fresh, so fun. And this is just like fine and a continuation of that. And if you like the first Lego Movie, you'll like this. So, yeah, I think that's it.
Yeah, I think it's like worth maybe renting, but theaters, you don't really have to see it.
All right, so that it. That it. Goodbye from Stubtown.